Prior to becoming the King of Evil, Ganondorf swore his allegiance to Zelda's father, scheming his way to power. Oddly enough, once he made Hyrule Castle his own, the King of Hyrule was never seen nor mentioned again. Did he simply flee, or did tragedy strike before he could? What's good, guys? It's Edible Incredible. Today, I'll be looking at the adult timeline as I speculate into the king's disappearance and how it ties into the Great Flood. Firstly, let's dive into the Ocarina of Time manga. Now, this book isn't canon, but it may give us a vague idea of how some plot points connect. Zelda games usually always prioritize gameplay over story, which results in the narrative feeling bare bones to some fans. So, specific story details become highly speculated, since there isn't much information to go off of. In my opinion, a prime example of this would be how Ganondorf obtained Zelda's body after she sacrificed herself to save Midna, or why Majora decides to casually hand you its biggest weakness. So Ocarina's manga shines light on the reason Ganon was chasing Zelda and Impa. He staged a coup d'etat, attacking Hyrule Castle with his greatest forces. Striving to get his paws on the ocarina, he stood at the top of the castle, where he found the princess with her caretaker. As if to terrorize Zelda even more, Ganondorf said, "I put the king to sleep forever." Luckily, Impa was agile enough to escape with the young princess, setting up the horseback scene that we all know, where Zelda throws the ocarina towards Link right before Ganon catches up. However, in the manga, Ganondorf notices this. "Hand that over, boy." Ganon knocks Link over with an energy blast. Saria's ocarina falls out, and Ganon snatches it before riding away. I guess this still works out in Ganondorf's favor, since he needs someone with all three spiritual stones to play the real ocarina in front of the door time. But he just doesn't seem as intelligent in the manga. I mean, these ocarinas must look kinda different. One's made in a forest and the other by the royal family. Either way, it's just another example of how the manga changes things up. That being said, the whole castle fight scene, of course, doesn't take place in the game, and the King of Hyrule is briefly seen in the manga. In the game, he's only implied to have been standing in front of Ganon as he pledged his allegiance. Putting him to sleep forever obviously suggests he murdered him. Now, one might say this lines up pretty well with the events from The Wind Waker, with the king from Ocarina of Time getting his revenge as a ghost. But remember, the King of Red Lions is a ghost because the gods sealed him beneath the waves. My power alone couldn't stop the fiend, and our only choice was to leave the fate of the kingdom in the hands of the gods. This king must have been the King of Hyrule during the events of the Great Flood. His kingdom was sealed at the bottom of the ocean. I highly doubt it's the same king from the Ocarina days, since in Hyrule Storia it implies that a huge span of history went by before Ganon returned. Once enough time had passed that the deeds of the Hero of Time had faded into legend, the creeping hand of evil beset the kingdom once more. Following this quote in Hyrule Storia is when it states that Ganondorf re-emerged by crawling up from the depths of the earth, which preludes the Great Flood. In the child timeline, the opportunity for Ganon to enter the Sacred Realm never came to fruition. The Hero of Time returned from the future to warn the royal family beforehand. If the king was in fact murdered, it was totally avoided in the child era. So back to the adult timeline. We know the king that dealt with the Great Flood is most likely separate from the one during the age of the Hero of Time. During this time, we know his castle was transformed by Ganon's will. But what exactly transpired when Ganondorf decided to go after the princess? Impa wouldn't instruct Zelda to flee unless something devastating took place. If you go in Castletown and talk to some people after the horseback scene, you can tell the residents are unsettled and just super unsure of what's happening. The one riding the white horse holding the little girl, wasn't that a legendary Sheikah? What happened? I almost got kicked by that black horse. We don't see a lot of Gerudos in these parts. Something fishy's going on. That guy riding on the black horse must have been Ganondorf. He is renowned as the Gerudo King of Thieves. Wasn't that Princess Zelda riding on the white horse? And if you talk to the guard right outside the castle gate, he says, "There's a lot going on in the castle right now. I can't even allow a dog into the castle." So Ganondorf and Zelda are currently somewhere in Hyrule Field. The chase isn't happening in the castle, but whatever Ganondorf left behind is still trying to be cleaned up. And if you attempt to get into the castle where you meet Zelda, there's guards immediately in your way. So remember, Zelda saw through Ganon's act because of those foreshadowing nightmares. Her father, on the other hand, didn't believe her. He thought Ganon was sincere, which is why Ganondorf was able to freely roam the castle. If he just walked up to Zelda and asked for the ocarina, I highly doubt she'd start running. In the manga, Ganon even approaches Zelda right after Link meets her in the courtyard. It is said, Princess, that you possess the Ocarina of Time, the greatest treasure of the Hyrulean royal family. I wonder if you might show it to me sometime. I don't know anything about it, but it's odd a gang of thugs asked me the same thing yesterday. They wouldn't happen to be acquaintances of yours. Ganon then walks away, but as you can see, Zelda isn't flustered at all when he brings up the ocarina, at least in the manga. So something more dramatic must have happened for Zelda and Impa to flee. Since the king was giving Ganon a free pass, I'm sure the King of Thieves took advantage of this in some way. Whatever he did, it shook everyone inside the castle, forcing the guards to go on a severe lockdown. Whether it was slaughtering the king in cold blood, or just something he said that alarmed everyone. Unfortunately, there isn't much information we can go off of. If the king managed to flee, wherever he settled down must have been somewhere secluded. I don't think Ganon assembled a full-blown assault on the castle like he did in the manga. It would have been way more obvious. So if he did kill him, it was much more discreet. Well, I hope you enjoyed this lore-based video. Let me know what you think happened to the King of Hyrule from Ocarina. And do you agree that the King of Reliance was a separate king? If you don't, let me know why. And as always, I hope you all stay hyped. Peace.